Okay.
This is the Mirage podcast, and the reason I'm starting this is because I feel like I've crossed paths with people like yourself that are super bright, and you're just very purposeful in all that you do. You are so good at all that you do, at least in my opinion. I truly think that you are. So, this podcast is for you to share with your loved ones because I'm excited to dive into some conversations that they may not have had the opportunity to have with you. Maybe ask questions that they never would have thought to ask. But more importantly, I get excited about the parents and their little ones, and I'm thinking about Logan and Xavier possibly watching this very episode, this very interview 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. And knowing that right now they might not get mommy and understand all of mommy's decisions, but when they go back and watch this interview, it's going to click when they have their own kids. So with that being said, Jade Marie, thank you so much for coming and joining me. And tell me a little bit about, let's go with the very beginning. To who do you attribute just being a lovely young woman?
So I'm definitely going to say it's collective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it was a lot of my grandmother growing
Okay.
up as a kid. I remember my mom as a like 5 and younger, very seldomly, and that's because my grandmother's home was sort of built so the bottom floor was like could be one apartment, the second floor
Mm-hmm.
was could be another apartment, the third
Gotcha.
floor could be
Okay.
another apartment. This is my grandmother's house. When I was born, I lived on the second floor. My
Mm-hmm.
grandma lived on the first floor. My uncle Danny and my aunt Jeanette also lived in this house when I was born.
Okay.
Also upstairs on our floor, my uncle Timmy lived in a room in there. And then upstairs, my aunt Gigi, that was her apartment, which was my
Okay.
grandmother's sister. And then
Wow. I
she
love that.
lived
You had
and
everybody having your back and protecting you and raising you. That is amazing.
she lived there. So my mom would get up, go to work. I remember us getting in the bathtub early in the morning, going downstairs to my grandmother's house, and there be breakfast ready for us to eat. My grandma had
Mm-hmm.
breakfast for everybody, and she would
Wow.
always make sure that me and Jasmine ate. And I would like to say that I think that me and Jasmine were her favorite grandchildren.
So, do you feel like your grandmother was more of an influence because of what you saw, because of action? Or can you recall any specific conversations and,
Oh, we were there all the time, and like my grandmother had it rough. Her husband and her, it wasn't like a good situation at all or whatever.
Okay.
And I remember my grandmother never really cursed, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see where this story's going.
And so my grandfather came into town to
Uh-huh.
visit his kids and his grandkids. And when she would come there, my grandmother would have all the words for him, and she would say
I
all
bet.
this stuff, and she would just like really confident in what she said. One thing that stuck with me, I would say about my grandmother, is she always said, dress like when you're going out, like you're trying to pick up a man, even if you have one at home.
Okay, Grandma. Okay, Grandma. I'm connecting that to how successful you are. I'm sure some of it has to do with the way that you present yourself. So I could see how that was
I
a
know
really
I like to
important
present
piece.
myself in a good light. So when I'm in these Zoom meetings and we're having professional developments and I see
Yes.
people, and one time I had to put on my bonnet, girl, because I was in the middle of doing my hair and I forgot. And I came
Uh,
on and I was like literally looking at myself like about to cry. I was like, I'm so sorry I have on my bonnet.
so you were speaking about your grandmother from the ages 5 and below. After that, approaching puberty, approaching your teen years, your
Oh
preteen
yeah, well, my
years.
teen years. Okay, so my mom was definitely around, but she was more of a criticizer. And now that I'm
Mm,
older, I see why she was criticizing stuff. But also, her tone with me was not the kindest. So a
okay.
lot of times my feelings were hurt, and she never apologized. Like
Yep.
I always make it a point to apologize to my kids because my mother never really apologized to me, and almost felt like I'm sorry she had apologized because I think me and my sister had spoke to my father one day,
Right.
and we're just like we can't get through to her,
Yep, I relate to that too.
and he was like, the girls are getting older now. Like, can they have their privacy? And so my mom was just going in our room, opening up the door. I'm just like,
Right.
what is happening? What is going on? And like, she didn't, it was like, it's my house. It's my rules. I'm like, thinking about it now just is making me like not even interested in talking about her. But I mean,
No, you're fine. And this is a testament to the kind of mother you are. Like you already said, you think about these things, these experiences, and you reflect them into your motherhood and the way that you approach, speaking to and reacting to Logan and Xavier. And that's definitely something beautiful that's come of it.
yes. And so one thing that I will definitely say is that I um, like my mom dressed very conservatively. She always had a blazer on. Like she liked to be
Mm,
dressed business casual a lot of the time, even
nice.
when she wasn't business casual. You know what I mean? When she didn't
Right.
have to be.
Her mother
She
must have taught her that
she
one
had like a
too.
blazer she had on. She used to like to wear long dresses and flowy
Right.
dresses. She'd be like, "Is this too tight? Is it too tight?" I'm like, "Oh my
Oh.
gosh!" I'm like, "It needs to be tighter."
You're being too conservative if there's ever a thing. That is funny.
Yes. So, um, I was bigger than my sister, so I was always compared. We're twins, so I
Okay.
was always compared to my sister.
Mm,
Um, and so there were certain times where, growing up, where or a lot of times where I was always compared, like, "Oh, Jade, you can't wear that. You're too big to
right.
wear that.
Mm,
You can't." So a lot of things that I remember about my mom were her criticizing, like how much I weighed and stuff like that. But she wouldn't say like you weigh too much. She was like, "You're so
right.
beautiful." She would say that, but then when we went shopping, she would be like, "We're gonna have to start shopping in the women's section. You're getting way too big."
Yeah, little things that parents don't realize we're listening to and being impacted by. I get that.
Yes. And so what I can say is that she probably learned that from her mother, because then my grandmother treated us like her grandkids, which,
Mm,
grandparents treat their grandkids completely different.
yep.
Because, like with Logan, she's just like, "Oh, I want to see her in that." Like she wanted all the pictures, all the cute little stuff. I bought
Right.
Logan this like little crop top. I remember one time as an outfit with like a little hula skirt.
Yes.
And my mom like absolutely loved it. But if I were to dress like that,
Right. Why
it
do they
would
do
be
that?
it
Why can't they
would
be the
be
same
an
parents as they
issue.
are grandparents? That is comical. Mm.
But yeah, so that my mom also had a lot of. I should have worn my jewelry. I do. This is one of my mom's pieces.
Okay. Awesome.
Let me see. But like all of my jewelry now is like hers.
That's
My dad
beautiful.
let the sisters.
Oh, that is so gorgeous.
Also, one thing about my mom, she loved jewelry and she loved like really nice things. So I took all of
Mm.
her Coach bags. She has like a leather coat with like shearling fur um
Wow.
hood and like in the inside of the on the cuffs.
Right.
And so she would always take it to. She would hate what I'm doing to it right now because it's in the trunk of my car.
But when you wear it, the first time you wear it, she will be very happy and she'll
She
understand.
always put it in the Macy's fur and leather place over the winters.
Got
So
you.
like she took really good care of this
She
leather
really
coat.
did take care of
Her
that.
name
That's
is
amazing.
embroidered on the inside of it.
Now, what did she do for work?
She worked at the city county building, collecting people's taxes.
Okay, got you.
So like if she knew you and she knew that you owed taxes, she would try to give you the best deal that she could.
Aw,
When she retired, the mayor came and wrote like this whole speech thing and like gave it to her and stuff. She
that's
thought they weren't going to
beautiful.
do anything for her because at that point, you work for someplace for a long time, you get fed up.
Right. Oh,
So,
boy, do I know.
so
Mm-hmm.
at that point, when like she was retiring and stuff, they all got together and did something for her. So she was excited about that.
That's beautiful. So, working our way forward chronologically, tell me about what you went to college for, what your degree is in, where you went to college, and what that transition kind of looked like with starting college and deciding what you wanted to do with your life, and then coming out, finding your first job, and things of that nature.
So I wanted to be so many things, Ava. I was not ready to go to college, and I think
Mm.
a lot of people should know that. My so I don't even know what my first major was, but somewhere along the
I understand. I was in the same boat. I get it. Mm-hmm.
somewhere along the lines, I switched to it may have been education, And then I was just like, this is too hard. Like I wasn't in the space to study and focus. Like I wasn't in that mental space. So I think it's people who take time off and don't go straight to college. I'm like, I wish I would have did that.
Right. Yep.
um, but again, my parents, my dad's like, you can't be living here if you don't go to college. You better be doing. I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Here we go
So,
with that.
so I wanted to go to the army was one of the things I wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
9/11 had just happened the year before I graduated. It
Oh,
was
my
September
goodness.
11th, 2002. And so that I was in the 11th grade when that happened. And then so in 12th grade, when my dad was like, no, absolutely not. We're about to go to war. You're not enlisting into the army. So my first that I can remember, which is what I graduated with, was my journalism degree. I was so proud because if I would have waited 2 years and then went to college, those
Right.
last 2 semesters, my GPA was high. But because of the last 2 years, my GPA
Okay.
was high. But because of the first year, my GPA was not good at all.
Okay.
It wasn't that good at all. It was a 2.75. I can say that out loud.
Got
It's
you.
not.
No worries. It's not. It doesn't reflect who you are today, Jade. We're good.
It doesn't. I graduated with my journalism degree, and I just feel like a lot of things that were holding me back was like my skin color, and I was in Pittsburgh. Um,
Wow.
I remember them because there was another girl named Jade who was in the same journalism department as me at
Okay.
IUP. So I knew her. So they sent me an email, congratulations, Jade, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, what? Because I had worked at the same internship as her as
Wow.
well.
Right.
And they sent it to the wrong Jade because they're
Are you kidding me?
stupid. It was just hard, like being a Black woman on that campus. It was ridiculous. And I was known as like the Starbucks lady because that's where I worked at on campus. And then I graduated. I went to Starbucks in Station Square, which is no longer there. A lot of stuff in Station Square is gone in Pittsburgh. But then I also started working for my cousin at the Children's Sickle Cell Foundation. Sickle cell runs in my family.
Oh my goodness.
A lot of my cousins have sickle cell and have also been not so fortunate with sickle cell. Like a lot of my older cousins, who I really don't know them. But they were like my mother's cousins.
Okay.
And have passed away from sickle cell disease. Now here in Philadelphia, my little cousin Nyla, she has sickle cell disease, and I think it was about a year ago, or maybe a year or two ago.
Oh my goodness.
So she graduates.
Stop.
She graduates next year, and like about was that this year when Nyla was in the hospital, Logan? She was in the hospital, and we were just all like really praying and like for her. It was rough. We came there on the first day. She could hear the kids in the room even though she was sedated. So when we came back the next day, she was like talking about us being there.
Oh my goodness, how precious.
Yeah, and like she just came through, and like there were points where even she was like, I thought I was going to die. Yeah, she got through it, and she fights. That's not the first time she's been hospitalized. You know what I mean?
No. Okay.
For a long period of time. So she goes through, these cycles of being hospitalized, not being hospitalized. And it has really, her achievement. Like she's such an amazing little girl. Like she was, I do believe, the valedictorian of her middle school. And so then she got into a very good high school, Central.
Awesome. So because we brought up Nyla as well as the little ones, I'd like to talk about family a little bit more. What was it like, getting to that point with him and deciding, okay, I do want to start a family. What does that look like to you? What does that look like to me, etc.?
So we met on Facebook.
Love.
And like when we were on Facebook wasn't a new thing. It wasn't like all of this. There wasn't even a feed. Mind you, there was not a news feed. You used to have to go on someone's page.
Yep.
You would have to go on someone's page to see what they wrote. You had to stalk people to find out. Now, if they're your friend, you can see what they post, whatever.
Everything. So Donald was on your page?
I don't remember. I don't remember who. It probably was me.
Okay.
I was actually dating this guy. And not really, he wasn't my boyfriend. He wouldn't say that he was my boyfriend. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start talking to someone else, right?
Exactly.
He kept saying, when are you gonna break up with your boyfriend? When are you gonna break up with your boyfriend?
Oh, he was
But
in love with you.
he was also dating someone else, by the way. By the way.
So we did all this bobbing and weaving just to
And
end up
then
where
we
we are.
finally came together. Literally, we
Yes.
were together for like a month and I was pregnant. And so
Aww.
and
And
so
Xavier's the oldest?
yes.
Okay.
And so I moved to Philadelphia like 2 months later. And I've been here ever since.
Love it.
And my parents were like, my mom always said when I went to college, she was like, "You gonna leave me, ain't you?" She used to always say it. She was like, "You gonna
Oh.
leave me, ain't you?" She's like, "You gonna be the one." But I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not leaving Pittsburgh. I'm a Pittsburgh girl, and I still really am to like the core."
And here you
Dom
are
pulls it
starting your
out.
family. Oh my gosh.
So we moved here, and I moved here October 11th, literally 1 week before my birthday
That's fun.
of 2009,
Okay.
and then I had a doctor's appointment with
Mm-hmm.
Xavier in November of 2009, and
Okay.
it was my 20-week checkup. So they were just
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, we're about to find out the sex of the baby." So I go into Bryn Mawr Hospital. It was like real fancy up in there, girl.
Yeah, Bryn Mawr. Oh my gosh, Bryn Mawr. Right. Haverford, Ardmore, all that. Yes.
Yes. So I went to the mainline hospitals, and that was like the first place where I can get like an ultrasound. Now, when I was pregnant in Pittsburgh and I went to my first checkup, the
Mm-hmm.
doctor had put me on, he was like, you should be on bed rest. You should be on this. So when I came here, I brought all my files. I was like, here you go. I was like, the doctor there said this. They were like, oh no, you're fine. You're okay. The entire pregnancy, I'm
What?
just like, yeah. The entire pregnancy, I was uncomfortable. It felt like I was contracting.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I was cramping. I didn't know what contractions were. Just my first
Right.
pregnancy. So I go to this 20-week appointment. They were just like, "You're dilated. 20 weeks." She was like, "You don't feel any pain. You don't feel this and that." I was like, "Besides the normal cramping I've been telling y'all,
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine.
I'm not really feeling anything else." So because they chose not to listen to me, that's why I don't even mess with the main line. I'm like, "Y'all racist."
Yep.
They would say stuff to me like, "Oh, is your husband hurting you? Is he bothering you? Is he Why did you leave your family for him?" Is one of the questions they said. Why did you leave there?
Why is that even a
Like, can
conversation?
my kids have a father? Or
Oh my gosh.
you gonna make fun of them for not having one? Like,
This is
girl, I went through so much with
while you
Xavier's
were having your
pregnant
first child. Like,
pregnancy.
chill.
I had to go to court with another guy. My neighbor, who I also dated, was like, Xavier is mine.
You a whole catch out here, Jade Marie. You a whole catch. They lined up around the corner for you.
I had to go to family court. And mind you, I don't even know Philadelphia, and I'm scared to death of this huge, big city, literally getting on a bus, anything. I had to go down to the city to get like a swab with me and Xavier, who was premature. He actually messaged me. He was like, "Why didn't you tell me you had the baby?" Because I didn't post it on Facebook because he kept saying stuff like, "That's my baby. That's my baby." I was like,
So we got rid of that crazy, and you're in the right place at the right time now. So that's good.
I know. Then I had it. Well, Xavier was such a sweet baby. I'm
Oh.
like, oh my god, he's so nice and
And is that the
sweet
reason why
and
you were like, let's have another
calm.
one?
No, both my kids were accidents. Okay,
Oh,
and
okay.
not accidents in a bad way, but just accidents as
No, I get
unplanned.
it.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Unplanned. Happy
um.
accidents.
Yes. I mean, I probably got pregnant with Logan at a Poconos trip. I mean.
That's so fun. I love it.
So Xavier was one when we found out that we were pregnant with Logan.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't have any health insurance. And like the struggle was so like going back then, 10 years ago, I would never think that I could even possibly be in a position that I am
Right.
today.
Right. Right, especially with your mom saying like you're gonna leave me. You really would have stayed in Pittsburgh, stayed closer to home, maybe not have started a family, as soon as you did. But again, it's just so interesting to me to hear that so much of it was unplanned when you really do seem to walk confidently in every decision that you've made and that you continue to make. So I was asking about morals and values and the kinds of conversations you've had to have with Donald about what your home and what the foundation of your family was going to look like.
We have a tradition of like saying hello and goodbye. So
Yes.
one thing that we agree on is that we always say I love you. We always give hugs and kisses. With my kids every single day. I had to ask Xavier, is it okay? Because I teach at the same school that they go to.
Ah,
So
yes.
Logan started this when I don't know how old she was.
Uh huh.
But every time we say goodbye and hello now, we give a hug, a kiss, and a nose kiss. Every single time. When they go to bed, they come in our room and they
That's so
give me a
cute.
hug, kiss, and nose kiss, and they give Donald a hug, kiss, and nose kiss, and then they go to bed.
Oh, I cannot handle that. That is too precious.
That's one rule that I think that we definitely follow all the time. That's sort of like
Good.
an unwritten rule that we always
Yes.
do. Like even on the phone, like if I call Donald and he's downstairs in the basement, literally like 10 feet away from me,
Yeah. Right, right, right.
he will be like, "I love you." I'm like, "I love you too," and get off the phone.
How sweet is that? So, from an educator's perspective and from a mother's perspective, what do you predict that's going to do for your children? Like, if you could fast
Oh, it's
forward and
gonna do
see
the
them in a
world.
relationship.
It's going to do the world for them. One reason why I say that is because I've actually seen children look at me the way that I parent my kids because I'm in the school and they know that they're my kids
Yes.
and be actually jealous
Yeah.
of that situation. I had a little girl. Now, mind you, Logan was older than this little girl. I had a little girl in my classroom, and she would always ask me, Miss Shay, do you love your kids? And I was like, yes.
Like it's a
And
foreign language or something.
she also said, my mom don't love me. In that instance, like, what are you showing and teaching your child? Like, why? And then she was like, there's nothing wrong with my daughter. And so a lot of times when parents have that type of conversation with me, I know
Yes.
you're not even coming back next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You're going to go find a completely different school because this is not the school for you, which, I
Yeah,
mean,
because our philosophies do not align. Absolutely.
it don't. I feel like my philosophies with our school, which there's a lot of things about my school that I've been like, this can improve, this can improve, this can improve. But there's a lot of stuff about myself that I feel like this can improve, this can
Okay.
improve, this can improve.
Being
So there's a
realistic, I
lot,
hear that.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people will say that, oh, you're comfortable. That's why you don't want to go ahead
Mm.
here and make a bigger salary here and make a bigger salary here. And it's not that I'm comfortable. It's that I like growing in the space that I'm growing in.
Yes. And as you grow, the space around you will grow, and you're probably really excited to see it change for the better as time goes on. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and like that connection that I have with my kids and when other people see it, like not it's not just you, it's
Yes, yes.
everybody.
It's radiant, girl.
One of the other employees said if everybody would be like Jade and her kids, we would never have to sign.
See, they see it. It radiates.
Like
I love
everybody
that.
tells me how good I am with my kids.
I hope that this podcast sparks something in you. I do think that you're the kind of mom that should have a vlog or a blog, the YouTube channel, the
I
you
want to
got
share with
to.
you, but I don't know if I should share with you on here or if I should share with you in private.
I don't think it
Like what I
matters. I
want to
mean,
do for like next
yeah, it
steps.
depends on the type of exposure you want with it for right now. So maybe we would baby step it. Definitely tell me in private and we could go from there. Now, you expressed that there's an I love you and the hello and the goodbye. Do you have anything in place for when the emotions that you're all feeling are not positive?
Oh, yes. Like my kids are allowed, like Logan will go up to her room and slam her door, like just be angry in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
let her get it
she
out.
and then she comes downstairs and then she's able to tell me Logan is so able to tell me her feelings and how she's
I
feeling
love it.
and she's like, but no, like she'll even say, I didn't understand you, like what you meant then. I didn't know
Wow.
that's what you were talking about. I thought you were talking about this, that, and the third. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like she'll actually like
She really will
go
talk through
into,
it.
yeah.
And how about
But
Xavier?
after she's upset, like she
Okay.
can't do it while she's upset. So
Of
sometimes I'll
course.
just like just sometimes I'll be like, look, I don't have the patience.
Go do what you got to do.
Just
Yes.
go up in your room and come back down. And a lot of times, like even Logan, it was funny. I was on the phone with my best friend Ronika
Yes.
since middle school. We
Mhm.
and I said, "Are you serious, Logan?" I don't even remember what she did. I was like, "Go upstairs to your room," and she said, "Okay," and started going upstairs. And my friend Ronika was like, "Wait, did she just say okay? Is she
Right,
going to her
because
room?"
usually going upstairs to your room is the punishment, but not in this case.
No, she was taking the punishment.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Like she was just
Yep.
taking the punishment. And then I usually tell her to come back downstairs. I'm like, do you
Yes.
know what was going on? Do you know what happened? Like, do you know why I sent you to your room?
Right. All very important and valid questions that I wish other parents would ask. Because, and I remember speaking about this in college, I too went to school for elementary education, and that whole concept of because I told you so. And I remember the first time that child psychology professor brought that to my attention. And that first like explosion that happened in my head where my brain really did explode because I was like, "Oh my god, that's my entire childhood." The because I told you so, rather than giving me the reasons and the understanding of
And
the
I feel
decision
like with
making.
sheltered people,
Yup.
like
Look at
that
that.
is the worst to do with someone who's sheltered. I feel like my kids are sheltered now because of like
Mm,
quarantine and stuff like
mm,
that. Xavier's sort of like not in a negative way, a loner. He likes to be by
okay.
himself. Like even when his friends are
Yeah.
doing too much, he's like,
He likes to chill out. That's good to know. Hopefully
which
he
is
stays
he's like
that
his
way.
dad.
Yeah.
He'll probably will stay that way.
That makes sense. Right, right. Okay, so that's good. He'll be playing it safe and doing what feels comfortable to him. He won't be a risk taker. So that's good.
I do believe he is going to be a risk taker at certain things.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
What makes you say that?
Just because certain things that he does, and I'm like, what made you do that?
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm trying to think of an example, but yeah, sometimes I'm just like, wow, what made you do that?
What's going on in your head right now? We'll blame age. We'll blame age for that.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. The phases, the different phases of psychological development. Maybe that's what it is. Like
I
how did
know.
either of
Have
your
you read the
children?
book?
Mhm.
It tells you the behaviors for the stages that kids are
Oh,
in.
okay. I'm not
So
sure what you're talking about, but I understand the concept. I get what you mean.
if you're 5 years old, there's certain behaviors, but there's two 5-year-old behaviors. There's younger fives, which is like
Yes.
if you're like up to 5 to 5.5, and then there's after 5.5 to 6.
Yeah,
And
the one that's popping into my head right now is the stage of pathological lying because my sister went through that
it's not
on
6,
a
it's 6.
dramatic
I think
level.
it's
Yeah.
6, 5 and 6. So
Whichever
that's
one it is, it lasted for like 8 years for my sister. Mhm.
so that is what we deal as kindergarten teachers. When I tell a parent that a
Yes.
kid did this, and then they go home and they're asking a 5-year-old questions.
Right.
Well, the
Right.
5-year-old is answering them the best way that they can, right? And probably
In
spinning some
their
stuff too.
5-year-old brain.
Sometimes what they're saying is true, but then
Yes.
you as a teacher have to like explain the entire situation
Yes.
to them because I'm just like, okay, I completely understand, but you're also hearing it from a 5-year-old, and I am a bilingual and 5-year-old.
Amen. Amen. That's such a great way to put that. It's true. We are the middlemen for these little brains. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm just like, you know, I don't think it is as like we have intense kindergarten parents are so intense. They're like, what do we got to do? Like, as soon as they get to fourth grade, them parents are like, I don't care.
Take them. Yep.
Let
Now, I hope I'm not overstepping any boundary when I ask this question. I'm genuinely curious. Do you and Donald want any more children?
no.
Girl
We
and you have
already
your
made
boy.
that decision now, like
Okay.
permanently.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right. And that was just that. I mean, I think that what happens in my mind is when you break down how good you are with kids, how well you understand them, I can't help but to think, okay, how many more little Jades can we get on this planet? Because we really, really, really need them, being the great mother that you are. How do you go about instilling confidence? And we said we wanted to talk a little bit about appearance. Um, how do you go about making sure that your children know that they are perfect just the way that they are, regardless of what the rest of the world and society say?
I also let them know that the world and society is going to piss them off. One.
Mm. Yes. Okay, that's good. So they have a realistic understanding of they're not always going to be your best friends. They're not always going to love you. Okay, that's awesome.
With my son, it's more of a you got this high five. Oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. Because when he was first, Xavier didn't talk when he was first born.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, he started talking.
Yes.
We were
And how
like,
old
I
was
mean,
he
of
when he
course, he
did
didn't talk
start?
when, so it was like three.
Okay. I have a
Like
cousin, same thing.
When Logan started talking, that's when he started talking because he realized that she was just like, like
How precious
really,
is that? Oh my gosh.
like not stealing the show, but like she's getting me in trouble.
That is so precious. He's like, all
I
right, let me
gotta
start
start
speaking
defending
up for myself.
myself.
Too cute. Oh my
um,
gosh.
they used to go to church with their aunt Jackie, and how I and they would come home all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier mainly so did go, and then
Okay.
Logan started going at like maybe 2 years old.
Uh-huh.
She comes back and starts telling me everything that they did. Xavier never, ever, ever, ever
Mm-hmm.
did that. Now, our family,
So
us four,
precious.
we don't go to church. We're
Okay.
not atheists. We do believe that
Mm-hmm.
there's a God, but we do not believe in the story of Jesus Christ.
I understand.
Like, please don't be pushy with me with your religion.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And I feel like we're definitely moving toward a more open-minded society as a whole. So hopefully you won't run into that issue too much as they continue to get older.
I've run into it with my family more so. So I'm
Mm,
hoping that the kids of my family members who
yes.
will tell me, try this, try that, try
Right.
this, try that, where your mind is made up, honey, so is
Right.
mine. And can you just accept that for me and be
Right.
happy for me? When they would go to church, like I could not believe. I was like, Xavier, why didn't you say anything? He was like, I didn't like. I guess he didn't
He's
think
so
it was of
chill.
was importance.
Right.
So when he started, wait, where were we going with the talking thing? Do we remember?
I was asking how you're instilling confidence and how you mentioned that you are telling them that
Oh
society is not
yeah,
always
when
going to agree with you and be your best friend, etc.
so Xavier with his he was able to read at a young age.
Mm,
Even now, his ability to read like, pretty like lengthy like science words, pretty lengthy like political words,
nice.
um is really intriguing to me. So I told you this, reading like 10 live articles,
Yes.
and Xavier can read the words, but he's not necessarily
And remind me
understanding them
how old
all.
each of them are.
Oh, yes, Xavier's 10 and Logan is 8.
Beautiful.
And so Xavier is reading all the words, but he doesn't necessarily understand all of the vocabulary of it. But
Right.
because he is able to know most of the vocabulary, he's able to pick up the context clues and understand what the article is about. Whereas Logan
Amazing.
needs to hear Xavier read it in order to get that because she can't read all the words, if that makes any sense.
Wow.
So that reading in him, he was like, oh, because I used to always encourage him all the time. I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing. So for him to hear that he's not amazing is an issue. And I think that that's a part of how you grow, knowing where you're not amazing at.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's important. I think it's up to you to decide like what like or I think it's up for them to decide what they want for themselves.
Yes.
Like right now, Logan's like, I want to explore the world. So a lot of things that I do to keep her confident
Mhm.
It's just like giving her compliments, like any little girl. Like, oh my God, that outfit is so cute. I can't believe you picked that out. We have so much style, girl.
I noticed that you have this really awesome like quote as your signature for some of your emails.
Oh, I have
So I wanted you to tell me about, what those are,
one is
and
the
maybe
computer
you have
one.
a favorite quote or something that you
I
can
just
leave us with.
like quotes, so I will switch up my quote. If see a quote and I'm just like, oh, that's so
Yes.
me, I will put that in there. It says, I want our young Black women to know that they don't have to change who they are because of what our society tells them to be. They may not be accepted for who they are, but that is not their responsibility.
Mm.
They need to see Black women in leadership who refuse to let prejudice dictate how they will live their life. I want them to own who they are because we need them. And so this
Mm.
was like um, Black leadership in Tulsa, Oklahoma, from an education conference. So I don't know
Wow.
exactly who said this,
Right, right.
but that's where I got that from.
And then the other quote was what?
Oh, yeah. Ella
Mhm.
Fitzgerald. Where there is love and inspiration, I don't think you can go wrong. Which is so
Yes.
perfect, right?
I saw these signatures and I was like, these are the epitome of exactly who Jade is. And one, one is more in depth, one is more detailed, about exactly why society needs and should love Black women. And then you have this one that's more concise, straight to the point. Love is what we need, and that's that. Get over it. So those are both really awesome. Do you
Yeah,
have any
anytime
thoughts
I
or
see like a,
specific feelings about the Ella Fitzgerald quote?
I feel like people don't necessarily know what love is. And I
Mmm.
feel like people are wrapped up in like infatuation. I think I had sent something to you. Oh, Ava, can I go grab something really quick?
You go right ahead because you are
I
preaching right
wrote it
now.
down and then my husband started reading it. And I don't like when people read my thoughts.
Oh, wait, but I get to hear them though?
Hold on, that was for you. Okay, so you were talking about that quote. So
Yes.
I think that people don't necessarily know what love is. And so because of the media that we see, um, and the shows that we watch,
Yep.
like some of our favorite um, television shows, and
Yep.
they're full of lots of things that are left out,
Yep.
or that they think is going into depth about something, but it's just touching the tip.
Yes.
And you know the food pyramid.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Preach on it. Preach on it.
That tip is like the stuff that you don't need. That's the fats, the
Right.
oils, the butter.
It's the smallest point of the pyramid. You can literally do without it because you will still have so much, such a large,
You need
vast
your
foundation.
fruits, your vegetables, your whole grains. Like those are the foods that help you really strive. And they're
Yes.
also not the best tasting foods
Nope.
all the
Unfortunately not.
time. You know what I
Unless
mean?
unless Jade is cooking with them, but anyway.
I know. um, and so that's what I think people do. They're touching the tip of love. You know what I mean?
Wow.
They don't necessarily really want to climb down that mountain, you know? And they, I come across people who ask me, how do you do it? I'm like, what do you mean, how do I do it? I'm living every single day like you are. Like, how do I do it? I mean, like, of course, me and Donald argue. Of course, we fight. But it's not often. And we're not disrespectful to each other.
Mm.
Um, and maybe at one point we probably were, but we were also at one point young.
Yes. You have things to learn. Nobody pops out of the womb grown and perfect. Nobody pops into a relationship understanding every single principle of being in the relationship that is needed or that needs to be worked on. That kills me that everybody wants. And when you had stepped away, I was saying we want this fast food drive through concept of relationships. That's not how they work.
No, it needs some marinating,
Now, when you
some
were speaking,
sampling.
yes, when you were speaking, I love that analogy right now. When you were speaking, I overreacted a little bit a second ago because you specifically, your choice of words was more impactful than you realized. You said nobody wants to go down downhill, down that hill of love. And it just so happens when I was in LA with my best friend, we were being crazy and we hiked up to the Hollywood sign. We're looking up and we're just like, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. And we climb up. The only part that really felt hard and scary was when we got to one or two gaps where it felt like, can I actually reach this next ledge without falling? And he has longer legs, so he could make it, and he had to pull me up. We did it. Okay, cool. We got up there, Jade. We didn't know what it was going to feel like or look like getting down. And until you experience that, I had no idea. I had no reason to think about the physics and the fact that getting down that mountain was actually going to be more difficult and scarier than the process of getting up. For whatever reason, it was Jedi mind flipped in my head. But the gravity that's pulling you down, the way that you have to navigate those paths, that brush, those, you know what I mean? The
Oh, I
bushes, the
know, because
rocks, the
I rock
everything.
climbed
I
in
had
high
no
school.
idea.
Oh, okay.
So just, I love that that was the analogy that you said. And as soon as you said it, my brain was just like, downhill really is scarier. People, I feel like some people don't realize that. So you can get to the top, to that feeling of infatuation and the fluffy, stuff.
The good stuff, the
you
fat,
don't you don't
the
get to live
butter,
up there. And then going to the other
the
thing you
frosting.
said, right, the frosting, the cherry. But then look, still looping back to these gems that you are dropping right now, that's the smallest point. You can't stay there. You can't balance on that point for that long. You have to come back down at some point. And that's the scariest part. I freaking love you. Those were such great analogies.
Remember me talking about couples goals and like how
Yes.
like, and I feel like some people like actually will like, you and Donald are so perfect for like couples goals, and like why that can also be like toxic. And
Ooh,
so this
ooh.
is what I wrote down. Qualities that I enjoy about myself, or that I'm passionate in everything that I do. Okay. It says you can
Yes.
see it in the way that I teach, the way that I care for people, the way that I dislike a person or situation.
Amen. You. Yes.
I said you can taste it in my food.
Yes.
And
Oh, you better put your emotions in your food. See, this is what I mean. You need the YouTube channel where you got one playlist of when you're in the kitchen, one playlist of when you're being a great wife, one playlist of when you're being a great mom. Like, come on. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. Um, Most of all, you can see it in my patience with myself. Okay,
Mm.
as I'm watching myself grow into an amazing woman, I accept myself, flaws and all. Why would I aspire to be someone else's goals when I'm already my own? Yeah.
Hold on. We're going to let that marinate. We're going to let that marinate for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the end. That wasn't even the beginning because my husband had started reading this. I was like, oh man, it goes like
No,
this.
I
I
really want to let that marinate. Wow.
So I said, I think couples' goals are or could be dangerous. I say this to say I want to aspire to be the best me that I can be. I don't want any jealous or envious thoughts um, of other couples because I can't reach their goals or achieve their goals.
Oh my
So I will
God.
say not reaching a potential goal is disappointing to me, but I set the narrative to motivate myself enough to change and keep going.
And become the best version of yourself. I have a
Exactly.
question. This question might sound a little abstract and a little out there. First of all, I'm sorry. I love what you just said. And I needed to hear it. I know so many people needed to hear it, the way you just broke that down. So here's okay. What do you think then about the fact that that term, hashtag goals, couple goals, relationship goals, how are you perceiving the fact that that has become the taboo thing, that has become the thing on the
I
front
think
of
that's
everyone's
exactly
shirt?
exactly what you just said. Exactly what you just said. The taboo thing.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like
So it's
hashtag
like,
Corona
how do
19.
we fight it? So I guess my question is, how are we going to fight against the fact that that's become the majority when we have women like yourself, women like myself, that understand that that's not healthy?
Yeah. So I think that it definitely comes along with And I'm going to say this. I don't think that people are grown until they are like 26, 27, 28 years old.
Oh, girl, you talking to a child psychology major. I feel you. Like that brain is not fully that brain is not fully developed until you're 33, okay? Okay, go ahead.
And so
I hear you.
I I personally think that we're dealing with a lot of immaturity when we see people at this age, and like we can have expectations
Yes.
of like, okay, you still need to do your job, you still need to, um, I guess be a good person. You still need. We can have these expectations though, but I do believe we need to understand where it's coming from. If you, a lot of times,
Mm,
like when I'm on Facebook, I know these people from association.
yes.
I don't know these people as friends.
Yeah.
I know the people on my Facebook and my Instagram through association. We may have worked together in the
Right.
past. We may have went to school together in the past. We may have been friends of friends of friends in the past, but
Right.
I don't know you. So where you're over here envying couples goals and all this stuff,
Mm,
I don't know what's going on in your mind. I don't know if you went through a bad
behind
breakup,
closed
a
doors.
bad relationship.
Right.
But what I will say is that once you start thinking envious thoughts
Mm,
of other people and wanting what they have, that is not only toxic for you, but for that other person.
wow.
Like, like you see red flags.
Yes. Yes.
That is a red flag.
Yeah, this is the reason why I'm so excited about starting this podcast and having conversations with people like you. You are speaking, and I just thought something that I have never realized before. Combining the concept of social media with um, this toxic understanding of yourself and with what we know, what you and I just said about when the brain is fully developed, with what we know about how people grow. I've never thought about how when children or teenagers are allowed to have the Instagram and the Facebook and the Twitter and the TikTok, they are establishing in their premature or immature minds how they're identifying themselves. So, how twisted and toxic can that possibly be when you have 13-year-old version of this young woman saying to the world, this is who I am, but your brain has so much more changing and developing to do. It probably messes up that process on a really deep level, like psychologically, if you get what I'm saying. And I've just never thought, of course, I'm always like, you're too young to have TikTok. Like, I get that. But I've never thought about it in that in depth of a way where it just makes it all the more scary to me now. And you really help bring that to my attention.
Yeah, like people don't, um, and some people take it so seriously. I'm just like, oh my God, this is just the internet. This is not your life. This is not like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I even feel like for the Black Lives Matter movement, like if um, someone isn't saying something, that they don't believe that Black Lives Matter. But I'm just like, what if this person's at home, like literally in a depression? Like, we don't, like, people are
You really don't
angry at
know.
people
Yeah.
for so many
Yes.
things because of social. Think about that.
Right. Right.
Like, they're
Yep.
so angry and upset, and so many emotions are coming up from the internet.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, if this is like, because I literally am around the us four, we're around each other all the time. So
Yeah.
I tell my kids, like, this is real. Like,
That's your social. Yes.
this is real life. You see that stuff that they're doing on that
Yeah.
YouTube channel that you watching? Imagine me acting like that all day. And
Oh
Xavier's like,
my
that would be
gosh. Oh
crazy.
my
And it's
gosh.
like,
Oh my goodness.
exactly, that would be crazy. They're doing this just
Yeah.
for likes and clicks. And please remember that.
And yeah, I need everyone to take a step
Because
back
if
and
you flood
realize
my
that
house, I will
yeah.
kill you.
Oh. I just want everyone to realize it can be used for leisure and it can be used for business. For those two things, I can see how it's a tool. I understand. But like any tool belt or toolbox, you don't have just one that you're using 24/7 all the time for all the same issues and all the same areas of life. So I absolutely get that. We were on a roll just now. I wanted to speak about the quotes, and that's what inspired you to go get the paper and speak more about what you love about yourself, your understanding of being envious, which I love. Love.
Like as soon as you feel that feeling in your, and I don't even think people understand what envy is.
Mm,
It's a jealousy that comes from within.
mm.
Um, that can literally make you toxic to yourself.
Yeah,
So many people want what other people have instead of trusting themselves and what they have. Because a lot of times people will want people's material things, but I learned at, I'm going to say in my early 20s,
yes.
that a lot of people out here flaunting their money around and things
Ugh,
like that and saying
yeah.
this and saying that don't know what's going to happen to them in the next 10 years,
Right. Right. Can't take it to the grave.
are in so much debt that they can't even fathom getting out of it.
Right. Right.
And they're
Mm-hmm.
just not as happy as you think that they are. My kids um, are so well behaved, but also happy because they are watching me and their father.
Yeah.
Like we don't want anything that anyone has.
Right.
And
Being
we're also
grateful.
givers. Like my kids will like give their things away, and I'm just like, hold on, wait.
That's beautiful, though. That's a beautiful problem to have. Meanwhile, you have everybody out here with super stingy kids and self centered kids. So, wow, that's beautiful. So, I want to take a closer look at this concept and your perspective of everything you just said. How did Jade learn this? Can you think back to when Jade did not have this understanding of being jealous and envious? And do you remember when that switch kind of flipped and you did gain this understanding?
So I would say I used to want like not necessarily someone else's thing, but just like bits and pieces of like certain things that people have. Like I was like,
Yes.
all right, like I was just like, I grew up poor, but didn't realize I was poor until I went to college.
College will do it every time.
So, and then also like with my body and my weight and that stuff like that. So I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I want to look like her. I want to be like her. I want to look like that. With my hair, I'd be like, oh, I want my hair to look like this. I want my hair to look. I wanted
Mm.
all of these things, especially associated with the way that I look.
Right.
Those were things that I wanted. But in order to actually achieve those things, I would have to actually like go in my mind and say that, I don't like this about yourself. And so in my head, I'm just like,
Wow.
I like that about myself.
Right. Wow. So you had like an internal battle kind of
I'm
going on.
like, I like that about myself. Why do I want this?
Wow.
I like this about myself. Why do I want this? And it wasn't until probably like a couple of years ago where I was just like, you know what?
Right.
Being like confident and well, I was always told to hold my head high. So I
Yes.
will walk around with my head held high all
Right.
the time because that's how I was taught to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Like so a lot of people will say like, "Oh, it's easy for you. You have a husband. It's easy for you. You have a two household income. Oh, you can do that because you have this, you have that, you have this and the third. And I have made it a point to not be ashamed of my two income household,
Right.
to not
Right.
be ashamed, because you want to point things out like that. And
Yep.
those people I feel like are envious of what I have. And it kind of makes me feel, it's toxic to me as
They're
well.
putting that toxic energy onto you and the life that you've made, the lovely life that you have already established and that you continue to work to establish.
Or
Yep.
like Donald's a good dad. I didn't know he was gonna be a good dad when I met him.
Right. Ah, I had to train him up a little bit, girl.
I've learned like I don't want people to assume things of me, so I don't want to assume
Yes.
things of anybody else. So I like to ask questions.
Amen.
So I
Hence,
just like
here we
to
are. Yes.
I just like to ask questions, see other people's opinions, ideas,
Yes.
where they are coming from, and try to grow from there. I mean,
Yes.
if you want to grow with me, I also used to want to be a people pleaser, believe it or not.
Oh, preach, please. Mm-hmm.
I used to want to please so many people, like, oh my God, be my best friend, be my best friend. I wouldn't say
Right.
that, but like I would do things that like I wanted to be your best friend
Yes.
because you're so cool or you're so this or you're so that.
But who's for you is for you, and who's not is not. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We just said a lot. We touched a lot of different points, and it looks like you really enjoyed it and you had fun with it. So I had fun as well. Um, I want to ask, because you are just so fabulous, what does Jade want to leave in this world? What is she most excited about leaving behind her every single place that she goes?
I mean, my smile.
Yes! Yes, your smile!
I get so many compliments on my smile.
As you should.
Now nobody can see it because it's under a mask.
It's okay, because it's not just the smile that they're truly talking about. It's all the joy and happiness and contentment behind it.
Yeah, I
And you
will
can
say
feel
that
that. You don't have to see it, you can feel it.
I think people feel my energy through my smile.
Yes.
People are like, how do you get so good, such good phone etiquette? And I was just like, I just talk with a smile on my face.
And it's genuine. You're
And it,
genuinely smiling. Yes.
yeah.
I
Um,
love it.
but yeah, that energy sometimes intimidates people because
Yes.
sometimes they think it's a cover up.
Right.
But then as they like, and I'm saying this because like parents who first initially meet me, they're just like, oh, why is she so happy? I
No,
want to put a collage together of how many. Thank you so much, Miss Jade, that I got this year.
I can't even
You've been
imagine.
so awesome. Like from probably Teacher Appreciation Week all the way up until like, a week ago.
Right. That is amazing. You deserve every single one for reasons that we really cannot count, honestly. And this interview just touched on a few of them. Is there anything else in particular? You had mentioned that we could kind of announce
Oh,
something.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
totally
yeah.
up to you.
So I want to start writing children's books, which I already wrote a couple, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to self-publish and
Yes.
try to get out. So I
Ooh.
am talking to someone that I also used to work with at 𝕘𝕒𝕟𝕣𝕒𝕝. I'll be
Uh,
meeting with her. She's actually written a children's book. If people who watch this are from 𝕘𝕒𝕟𝕣𝕒𝕝, they will definitely
know who you're talking about? Gotcha. It's
they will
okay.
definitely know who I'm talking about. She works with families in the Philadelphia area for kids who have special needs to get them the
Beautiful.
resources and education that
Mm.
they need. But her business is called Advocate for Me. And the name of her book is, I think it's called What About Me? It's called What
Mm.
About Me? Yeah,
Okay.
it's called What About Me? And I do believe her son is the reason why she does all of this. Yeah.
That is beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So we have the organization Advocate for Me, and her book is called What About Me. And now we're here interviewing and hearing from you, and the fact that you are going to step out into the book writing field and write for children and truly, truly leave your mark on the next generation and the generation after that, and after that, and after that. The book will be here and get it done.
I know. I'm hoping I write
Logan
more
and
than one
Xavier will
though.
get it done. Oh my
I
goodness.
know, right?
So beautiful. And what I
I
love the
have.
most is that you are equally as confident about your skills as a woman and as a mother as everyone else around you feels and sees. You know what I mean? Like me, for example, someone might give me a compliment and I understand how to take it without having a rebuttal, but I truly may not believe it about myself. I have this vibe. I get the feeling that you truly believe about yourself, what you know.
That happened like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, stop it, Jade. COVID did it. The pandemic did it for you.
I feel like it did. I feel like it was a lot of self
I
reflection.
understand.
Yeah.
Time spent with self, and I totally get that. Hence the fact that this podcast is happening. It's just like, all right, no distractions. Quite literally,
No.
just me and
None.
the mirror and my beautiful children and your beautiful union. You can really focus on those things and see, yeah, you are doing the damn thing, Jade. Okay? And we really appreciate you for it. This was so awesome. I'm so glad that I met you through Dom.
I know,
really,
right?
really grateful. Yes.
Thank
you for
you.
being such an amazing role model and influence.
No, thank you for having me. It was fun. I like
Glad you
talking
think
about
so.
myself.
As you should, because you're incredible. That is totally fine over here. That is why we're here. You are goals, Jade. You are goals, okay? I do want to be like you when I grow up. I'm just not jealous or envious, but I can want to be like Jade because she's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,